we're gonna talk about socks, and who better to learn about socks than from a sock?
Just kidding, we wouldn't do that to you guys. Today, we're gonna talk about arguably the most important thing for getting outside and staying comfortable, socks. You know, a lot of people want to romanticize the backpacks, the clothing, the skis, the boards, all that type of stuff, but what are we trying to do when we get outside? We're moving, we're trying to stay active, and what do we need to do that? Our feet. And so this could arguably be one of the most important videos that we talk about in the next year or two, because everybody wears socks, whether they're walking to work, going to the grocery store, hitting the gym, hiking, skiing, snowboarding, anything. Don't wear socks when you rock climb. Don't be that guy. For pretty much any other activity, socks are super pivotal, and we're gonna talk about those today. So these socks here on the table, these are all my socks that I own. Got all of my darn tough socks here, including the ones that I'm wearing right now. And then we've got some snowboard, some hiking low socks, and some mid over the calf socks from Smartwool. And then again, the dark horse that we're testing against for this video, the Costco Merino wool sock. So first, let's kick it off with Smartwool. These guys have been in the sock game, specifically the Merino game, for decades. Smartwool obviously is known for their socks, but they also make great base layers, active wear, all different kinds of mid layers, things like that. And they specialize in that merino wool category. So Smartwool, first out of the gate, something that you always notice when you have these in your hands, they are really soft. You know, so Smartwool, in my opinion, of all three of these socks, is probably the most comfortable of the socks. With that comes a little bit of a looser knit, a little bit of a looser fit on your foot. You know, they come in a lot of different varieties, from zero cushion, full cushion, targeted cushion. But today, overall, we're just gonna be talking about just the general Smartwool sock brand, and we will do a lot of other videos about that specific type of sock. So you know, they've got socks for summer hikes, to shoulder seasons, to a snowy day on the mountain. But just in general, I would say the Smartwool socks are a little bit more plush feeling, slightly thicker, a little bit softer and looser fit compared to the darn tough sock. So you know, they're great for comfort while you're getting active, while you're doing any of those activities, but they may show wear a little bit quicker. Just with that softer, looser knit, they do have the potential to scuff a little bit more. From a personal use case, these snowboarding socks right here went out with me on a 3-day trip last winter, and I'm kind of a dirty dirtbag, so I did wear one pair of socks for that entire 3 days. They got wet, I threw them in front of the heater, throw them in front of the fireplace, wherever you're staying, and they dry out every night. And with that, you know, antimicrobial nature, with that quick drying nature, these were able to dry overnight and just perform extremely well. 1, 2, 3 days in a row with a ton of snow and getting wet every single day. These socks definitely have a little bit of a softer, more plush feel, so maybe not more durable. And speaking of durable, let's see how these socks all stack up to some granite sandstone, just rubbing the heck out of them on some materials we might see outside. All right, now we're gonna get onto our grind test here. We're gonna compare the Darn Tough Smartwool and Costco sock. We brought in our tech, Mark, right here. He loves to, you know, do all this stuff, super professional. Here we're gonna do three passes. We're gonna mess around with the ball and the heel. Just let you guys see what we're doing here with these socks, see how they hold up. So off to you.
Come on, there. Ready?
Okay, good. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, stop. All right, let's look like. Oh, straight through it. 2, 3, stop. 3 seconds with the spin right there. First sock.
Oof. Watch it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
Heel.
Yeah, let's do the heel.
Ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Hold on, let me get close up to it.
So dethrone this one. Let me know when you're ready.
Go.
1, 2, 3. Heel, ready? Yes?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
So obviously that test was a little bit extreme. You know, we wanted to simulate that lifetime usage on these socks and see how they held up. You know, we knew they would get demolished on that stone grinder, and you can see that, you know, regardless of the sock, it looks like that tear was pretty similar between the three of them. But yeah, definitely I would say the Costco sock held up the worst, which was to be expected with those softer fibers. So, you know, with that, now we're gonna do a little bit more of a realistic test. I've got a rock right here. That's a nice piece of granite, and I'm just gonna run this up and down the bottom of the sock 50 times on each sock to kind of simulate what it might be like if you're just out on a camping trip, walking around on some of the boulders or some of the rocks, kind of like just moving between your tent to your chair to where you're cooking. You know, if you are just walking around in your socks. So we'll just do a little simulation and see what that's like now. 50, all right. So there's the Darn Tough sock, 50 passes over some genuine Yosemite granite. You can see it did a fair amount of damage. It kind of started creating some pilling, destroying the fibers a little bit, but not terrible. You know, there's no holes through this, but definitely I would say that's a nice solid 1 or 2 years of walking around on rock right there, because you know you're never really going to be doing that, but the point of these tests is just to see how these hold up to extreme testing. So Darn Tough, I would say, passes the genuine granite test here. Looks a little bit rough, but definitely still going to be useful. You know, we see that there are some fibers coming off of the sock, and it's definitely beat up. Next, we're gonna do the same exact thing with the Smartwool sock. 50 passes. All right, 50 passes. Same thing, you know, a little bit of pilling, you're losing a little bit of material, but overall, I'm honestly fairly impressed with the Smartwool socks. They seem to be performing like pretty much right on point with the Darn Tough socks, if not potentially a little bit better. Again, it's not a perfect test. My pressure might be a little bit off. I am trying to put it in the exact same spot on this granite right here where there's a nice edge. But same thing, you know, the fabric is coming apart a little bit, but just not too bad. It's not affecting too much of that performance. I would say it's still gonna provide a good amount of insulation, moisture wicking, everything kind of that you're looking to get these socks for. So definitely held up good to, you know, the hopping around on granite for the weekend test. Next, we're gonna change over to our Costco sock here. Oh yeah, this guy got beat up from that grinder test. So you can see the Costco sock definitely got the worst of the grinder. It's just, yeah, this material is super soft. So I'm excited to see how this one performs here. Again, getting it right on that granite edge there, and we're gonna run over this 50 times. So you saw there's a lot of little fuzzies coming off during that one. I definitely felt this sock snagging on the rock a little bit more. It was a little bit more laborsome for me to maintain that same pressure over there, and it was very frequently getting caught up on that edge. So, you know, as you said, just a lot softer, a lot of a kind of more open knit sock. So obviously it's not gonna perform well as well as the other two socks no matter what, but you know, honestly, not too bad. It's kind of got the same thing going on as the Darn Tough and the Smartwool sock. The fabric's starting to kind of come off a little bit. It's pilling up a little bit, but there's a lot more of these fibers just floating around. I'm breathing in a lot of sock fibers right now, which is probably not good for my health, but you know, for the YouTube, we do it. But overall, pretty impressed with the Costco sock as well. Just on the, you know, weekend granite test, as we're calling it. It definitely did pretty well, but there's some spots that have really thinned out in comparison to the Smartwool and Darn Tough sock. But overall, you know, I would say just between these three tests we've noticed so far, I would say Smartwool probably performed the best, you know, at least this sock with our tests, followed by Darn Tough, and then coming in last place is that Costco sock. So, you know, you pay for what you get. and Darn Tough and Smartwool are definitely coming out on top, but Smartwool probably snuck by a little bit more on top of this one, so there you go, 1 point to Smartwool. All right, now we're gonna talk about the beast from the Northeast, Darn Tough. These guys have been making socks for a long time as well now, but not as long as Smartwool, but they have really made a name for themselves. It might even be the most popular, hiking sock right now in the US. This just over the calf sock that you see here, their mid-hike trek sock, has definitely become my favorite go-to, even daily sock, especially when you're getting out there for hiking, for any sort of trekking. This is gonna be a fantastic sock for you, and they are legendary for that reason, that they have that lifetime guarantee. So if you figure out a way to rip a hole in these socks, which is pretty difficult to do to begin with, but if you figure out how to do that, you throw these in a box, send them off to Vermont, and they will either fix them or probably just send you a new pair. That's what lifetime guarantee means for Darn Tough. So really awesome US-based company right up there in Vermont. So just fantastic if you want to have, assurance that your product is gonna last you forever when you make that $25 purchase. These socks in general, have a denser knit to them. So with that, they are a little bit stiffer. They potentially have like a little bit more of a break-in period. They do hug your feet and your calves a little bit tighter. So as you're pulling that sock on, you will feel it kind of hugging your foot, but that's because it's a performance sock. There's no looseness to it. If you size these correctly, according to the label on the back, they will be exactly where you need them to be on your foot. And something else to talk about with both Smartwool and Darn Tough, you can see the way that these are knitted. It's not only just to look cool where there's the different colors and patterns, but in the heel and the toe of all of these socks, there is additional knitting and additional stretch and support, because those are the spots in your sock, the hot spot on your feet when you're doing all of that walking, that ambulation, or when you're, toeing in on like a pair of ski boots, or going from heel to toe on your snowboard. Those are the spots that are gonna take a lot of that heat and that pressure and that movement. So both of these do have that extra knitting exactly where they need to be. We're always trying to offer personal experience here. I have ripped through a couple of my Smartwool socks, and as I said earlier, that's just because they're a little bit softer, so they move a little bit more. And out of the, 8 pairs of Darn Tough socks that I own, I have one little hole in the heel of one sock that I have in the laundry right now, so I didn't bring it today. That was my first pair that I bought about 8 or 9 years ago, and that's the only thing that's ever happened, just one little rip after almost a decade of use. And as you've heard, if you watch our channel frequently, I beat the hell out of everything I own, so 8 years for one pair of socks is amazing. So Darn Tough is a brand that I for sure stand behind, and we'll always talk to our customers when they're coming in and wanting to know more about hiking socks in particular. They do also make skiing and snowboarding socks, but I do think that Smartwool is the king when it comes to ski snow, and Darn Tough is the king when it comes to hike trek. Something important about merino wool socks, like we've talked about in these last 2 pairs of socks, is that quick drying when it comes to merino wool. And speaking of quick drying, we're gonna dunk all of these socks into a tank real quick, soak them with water and hook them up, let them dry out, put a timer underneath, and see who truly is the quickest drying sock that we have here. So I guess to clarify kind of what we're studying here is, we're testing whether or not these socks, first of all, retain that moisture. So we're gonna dunk them, and whoever drains the most water into these individual cups, that's probably the loser, because they got the most water in from setting in that water. And then at the end, we'll get both myself and Connor to kind of touch the socks, show you on camera, and we'll just do like a little bit of a hand test and feel which one feels as dry as well. Works for you? Cool.
All right, dunk them, 1 minute. Here, push them in more. Start our minute timer.
Oh, here we gotta take the water off, take the water off, take the water off. So now we have done a moisture retention test. These socks have been sitting here dripping into their individual cups for the last 2 hours, and now we're going to see who has the highest volume of water retained in the socks and who has the lowest volume of water retained in the socks. High number loses, low number wins. So first we'll try Darn Tough.
2 ounces.
2 ounces. Next we'll try Smartwool.
2 ounces.
2 ounces. All right, that's good.
Tied.
At least they're equal there. And Costco.
2.6.
2.6 ounces. So, theoretically, this test measured water retention of the sock. So Costco brought in the most amount of water. It absorbed the most, so that sock is the wettest sock of the bunch. And it seems as if for this one, Darn Tough and Smartwool were pretty dang even, pretty spot on, both with 2 ounces of water absorbed into that sock, which were then just dripped out natural, natural drip dry. So that's pretty awesome. Darn Tough and Smartwool came on top. Costco came in last. Obviously that makes sense. Next, what we're going to do here is we're going to squeeze all of the water down into these individual cups. What that's going to do is over the last 2 hours, not only have these been drip drying, but they have been hopefully quick drying and dispersing those water molecules off into the air. So we should be able to see not only which one retained the most moisture, but which one most naturally got rid of the moisture on its own. We're gonna lower these down. We're gonna wring them out. We're definitely gonna lose a little bit of water. It's not perfect. That feels really wet. Trying to acting as if now we've wrung our socks out after allowing them to dry on their own. Got a little bit of moisture on my hands and a little bit of spilled, so we'll call it plus or minus 0.1 like we said. All right, now that our socks are dried by my hands, we're gonna go ahead and put them back on. And again, we're gonna see whoever has the most water, retained the most water again. And that is the loser. Whoever had the least amount of water, retained and also expelled the least and most amount of water. Naturally, so we'll see who has the least. Whoever has the least wins, whoever has the most loses. So these guys were at 2 and Costco was at 2.6. So we'll do a little bit of math here on the screen when we do that. So Darn Tough coming in first here.
2.3.
2.3.
2.3.
2.3 plus 0.3 ounces. So there was an extra 0.3 ounces of water in this Darn Tough sock that were still in there after 2 hours of left being able to dry. Next, we've got Smartwool.
2.6.
2.6. So what that's showing us is that Darn Tough had less water in it when I squeezed it, which in theory shows that Darn Tough did a better job of naturally expelling moisture through that quick drying material than Smartwool did. So while they both had that same amount of water retention at 2 ounces, it does seem like Darn Tough did a better job of getting rid of the moisture than Smartwool did. So that's pretty important. And finally, we've got Costco.
It's moving so much. 2.8, 3.1. We'll just meet in the middle and say 3.
Cool, and then Costco's coming in at about 3 ounces, so an additional 0.4 ounces of water was left in that sock after allowing it to air dry and drip. So for this test, the Darn Tough sock came out on top for that quick drying on its own. For that least amount of water retention initially, Darn Tough definitely takes the cake with this one. So if you're doing any hiking in the snow, if you're doing any river crossings, any skiing or snowboarding, anything where your feet are gonna get really wet, it seems like Darn Tough might be the better option for this one, followed up by Smartwool, and then Costco came in last for this water test. So very interesting there. Between these 3 tests that we've done, fire, abrasion, and water, some pretty cool stuff, but we'll talk about that in the next clip. And now, let's just take a little step away and talk about these Costco Kirkland budget merino socks. So I am gonna use this here for some information at around $3 to $4 for a pair of 4 of these socks. This is definitely the winner when it comes to budget-friendly, outdoor themed, you know, skiing and snowboarding / winter socks. Just here in my hand, they are soft, they are plush, they don't have a ton of rigidity. They're like the Smartwool socks, but way cheaper, way worse material. You can feel it in your hand. You know, they're gonna move around on your foot a lot. They're gonna move in your boot, but personal use case from our expert in-house snowboarder, Mark. He has used these and did report that his feet have been dry and comfortable. The Merino wool did its job, which is awesome, you know? So if you're looking to save some money, this is going to be the best sock for you out of these 3. If you're just like, I just want a sock, I don't care, I'm learning how to do these sports and I'm not looking to spend $25, try these out first. They'll probably tear after 2 or 3 days out on the hill, but they cost $1 for a pair of socks. You can see here and feel it with your hands. They don't have any of that additional knitting in the heel or the toe, so they don't into the ankle and calf of the sock. They do have a little bit of that elastic kind of feeling and material, but overall, like, this sock is just super easy to get on and off of your foot. Again, not a ton of rigidity, very soft. So it's not a performance sock per se, but it is a merino wool comfortable sock that will get the job done. So that's pretty awesome for $3 to $4 for sure. You know, these don't have any sort of lifetime guarantee like Smartwool, 100% satisfaction, darn tough, lifetime guarantee. None of that here with the Costco Merino sock, but Costco's return policy is, like, you know, historically pretty chill. They seem to kind of take everything back. So I would say, like, as long as you don't have any major holes in these, you shouldn't have any issues. But again, I do think these are just kind of meant to be used and tossed after a few uses, because they're definitely not durable by any means. But how do they stack up to being lit on fire?
All right, so I got the fire lit up here, and I have the 3 socks, Darn Tough, Smartwool, and the infamous Costco. I'm gonna wait till I can make this fire a little bit larger, and then I'm gonna lay them out evenly across this brick right here, and we're just gonna see which one melts first. Whichever one melts first loses. It's pretty simple. Let's check it out. It's taking a little bit longer than expected, so I'm gonna, one by one, just drop. Ooh, those are hot. That one's getting a little crispy. Darn Tough, it's getting a little crispy. This one, Costco, is feeling soft. Smartwool, also still feeling soft. They're steaming. I don't know if you can see the steam rising right here. They're definitely getting steamy. And just to be fully clear, these have never been worn on my feet. These are fresh socks, probably just moisture from sitting inside the house. So Costco's burning first. All right, it's been over 20 minutes here. You can see Costco sock is finally starting to crisp up here. I honestly thought they were totally going to start melting. Smartwool really is feeling fine. It's not crispy or crunchy at all. I can barely get my hand in there. It's so hot. And Darn Tough is, Darn Tough is kind of more scrunched together and firm, whereas Costco is looking very burnt. That's impressive. I'm gonna leave them in here a little bit longer because this is a torture test after all. So far, Smartwool takes the cake when it comes to getting your feet too close to a campfire. So here's the final results. Darn Tough, slightly melted. It's definitely a little more crunchy. It's not soft as it is on the side that didn't get close to the fire. And you can see the extra stitching where they add more fabric. The little stitching there is all melted. First place is a Smartwool sock here. This one is still super soft and pliable and just has a minor burn mark on the bottom here. This part is still a little crunchy right here, but for the most part, I would argue that you could still totally wear this sock and be perfectly fine. So Smartwool definitely takes the cake in the fire test. Last and definitely least is the Costco sock. This one got destroyed. You can hear that here. Some sock crunching ASMR. This one got completely burnt to a crisp. Let's see, I can actually create a hole right here. Totally burnt. Not pliable or soft at all on the part that was close to the fire. Definitely lost in terms of to Smartwool and Darn Tough.
All right, so from these amazing scientific tests that we have just conducted, I think, it's pretty easy to see that Smartwool does come out on top for this test. 2 out of 3, for the abrasion test and for the fire test, Smartwool slightly outperformed Darn Tough, which genuinely surprised me as a Darn Tough lover. But, the test is the test. We have to uphold the scientific standards. So Smartwool was 2 out of 3, but for that water test, Darn Tough definitely won, as you saw in that. So, pretty close neck and neck, but overall Smartwool definitely took the cake in this one. And then something that was surprising, Costco wasn't horrible. Yes, it lost every single test, but for a $4 sock, holy crap, that was pretty good. So if you're just getting into all of these sports and you don't want to waste any money, get a Costco sock, try it out for a couple of months. Once those things get ripped to shreds and you toss them in the bin, go for Darn Tough or Smartwool. You can't go wrong either way. And if you want to buy, 1 pair of socks or 20, I think you should just buy 20. Head on over to our website at ridgeandriver.com and use the code YouTube10 for 10% off of as many socks or anything else on our website that you would like to purchase. Again, we put in a lot of work. You saw this is the 4th shirt I'm wearing in this video. That's like 4 days of editing and shooting, and even more for Connor right here. Wow, he crushed it on this one. So yeah, leave a comment. Tell us what socks you like. Leave a like, hit that like button, hit the little bell notification, hit the subscribe button. Help push this video into the algorithm so we can keep doing more intense things like this. We really want to do these types of videos more, but they take a lot of work. We also run a retail store and an online store, so that's pretty tough. We want to dedicate more time to these YouTube videos, but we need your help. Again, thanks so much for watching. Keep those toesies comfy, get some good socks, and remember, no free foot pics. Later.